So this video is kind of going to be quick, but I sort of wanted to talk about how to escape the Matrix, and specifically how I plan to escape the Matrix and the way that I see the Matrix and sort of all this shit. And I've always kind of talked about this in the past and even sort of now in more so recent videos about how the world that we live in is very similar to how a Matrix operates. When you sort of watch the movie The Matrix, you could see that obviously these people are, restrained, being used for their energy, and, they're essentially being sucked out of their life force, being distracted with rather, like this sort of fake life essentially that they're sort of living. And to the same extent, we look at our freaking lives and we could sort of see a very freaking similar thing. A lot of different things going on in the world, a lot of different things being sprayed in the sky, different things going on in the medical system and the education system, all these kind of different things. I have plenty of videos highlighting specifically what those things are. I could watch, there's this age-restricted video, YouTube age-restricted this video, but you could sort of watch this video. It's called Ruining Your Life. Just click on my channel and you'll probably find it. Watch that one because that one is really good, and I talk about quite a lot of these different things that are going on in the world. But the education system, medical system, all these different things are going on in the world, right? And essentially we live in this big matrix. Different things being introduced, like digital IDs and all these kind of different things, and essentially, like different Palantir and like all this stuff, and like this fucking spy sort of tech and all this stuff, Chat GPT and Siri, all this stuff, perhaps maybe, I don't know, like taking some data from here and there, different stuff going on. And our world is perhaps not heading in the best direction, right? And so I'm trying to be careful with saying this because I don't want this video to, get limited or something like that. But essentially what we sort of want to do is we want to escape out of sort of this system. And the way we do that, at least to my freaking best knowledge and the best conclusion that I've sort of came with, is by trying to get independent, is by trying to get out of the system itself and essentially try and head out somewhere else. As we know, we live on this sort of, flat place, and this sort of earth that we live on, is pretty big. There are different lands that are on earth. And so perhaps we can go somewhere on these lands. Perhaps we can find a place that is away from these Wi-Fi towers and all this stuff. And we could essentially find our independence there. We could start to get our own animals. We could start to breed these animals together, get those chickens, get those cows, essentially homesteading. And this would sound weird from someone like me who's always talked about getting money and sort of all this stuff, or sounding weird from, all these different people who are talking about escape the matrix, get 100 cars and blah, 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 and look at my watch, all this stuff. But the truth is that's not actually how you escape the matrix. Being in the matrix, you're still in the matrix if you could be limited, if you could be found, I want to be fully off the radar. I want to be unrecognized by all these big people. You know what I'm talking about. And essentially, that's sort of the main deal. I want to try and be off the radar. And oftentimes that means sort of going off, doing my own little thing, homeschooling my children, sort of in my own little bubble. And oftentimes I sort of think about this and I'm like, right now, I would hope, it's like we're in 2026. I would hope that by 2029, I could be able to have my full sort of place on my own, and essentially have this small little village or this compound that is sort of separate, independent, and I could sort of have my different things in there, my farm, my all this stuff, and essentially have my own food, grow my own food, have my own cows that I could eat, that I could, have do their own thing. My own chickens that lay me my eggs and feeding them what they actually need to be fed. And more than that, sort of having my own little school where I homeschool my different children, having a home gym, having all these kinds of different things where essentially I become independent. I don't need to go out of out of my bubble. And obviously having my 4 different wives, because I plan on, marrying multiple women. And essentially the main thing that I'm sort of getting at is you want to make your own version of this, right? Like this is probably my own version of it. I might edit it slightly, still not really so sure, but you should find your own thing, right? You should find the way that you want to do things. This is the way that I've sort of concluded as to how we sort of run out of the system. There's this particular woman who I've been watching the videos of. She's called Gubba Homestead. And she has these different things. She's talking about all these kinds of different things. And I do think that a lot of what she says is true. But she's kind of really inspired me to look at the idea of homesteading and actually say, you know what, this is how our ancestors have always lived. This is how humans have always lived. Perhaps we should live the same way. Perhaps we shouldn't rely on these systems that will probably make going to the education system mandatory, and you can't homeschool your children, you can't do any of this stuff, and you can't do like any of this bullshit. Essentially, you're just forced to become this cattle and whatever, and like the digital ID, and like Siri's watching you, and ChatGPT's watching you, and Instagram is watching you, and all this stuff. And I don't want my kids having phones. I don't want Wi-Fi in my house unless it's like fucking one router with an Ethernet cable connected to my laptop so I could record videos and, sort of spread my message. But besides that, that's really all I fucking want. I just want to be alone in the wilderness with my 4 wives and my mom and dad and, with my family, my different families, if you're going to sort of say that, and try and sort of sprout my own little seed in my own little bubble. And I sort of, I don't like to talk about it because I think this is probably something that's very personal to me. I just would not like people to know so much about this kind of particular thing, especially about the kind of personal life. But to some extent, I have to make this video to inspire you to perhaps think about your own life. Think about, do you really want to live inside of the matrix? Live inside of this system, and essentially, go into these traditional systems of, freaking like having heavy metals being sprayed over your head and, having to take vaccines and having to do all this different shit and having to, I don't see it. For me, at least, it's just not the kind of thing that I want to live. Being employed and having to rely on this, and digital currency is coming in, and, they could stop your bank account. They could take all your money. They could, if you say anything wrong about anyone, it's a complicated system. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I don't want to not talk about it at all. And so I've put out my word. This is a short video, but I do really want to sort of inspire you to think about that. Think about the dream life that you want to build for yourself. That is really the main freaking thing. I need you to sit there and journal this. Please journal your dream life. Journal how you want to live your life. Journal the person you want to become, the type of friends you want to have around you, the type of woman you want to marry, or women, if that's your thing, how you want to raise your children. Just journal everything. The car you want to drive, where you want to live, the house you want to have, the houses you want to have. It's like, just journal everything. The work that you want to do, the purpose you want to achieve in the world, journal it. Find yourself, please. So that's what it was for this video. I hope that this gets you to think a little bit about what you want to do with your own life, and perhaps whether it's worth considering to stay in the system or not. And as long as you commit to the work, you'll be getting your results.